my name is Trisha Cordell and this is my commemorative speech. If everyone could please close your eyes and imagine yourself as a small child. Your parents saying, "Get ready to go, you're going to Grandma's house." The excitement, the joy, a day without your parents making you follow all the rules. Grandma's fun, she lets you do anything. And why? Just because of who you are. Now open your eyes and help me take a trip down memory lane. I had many wonderful experiences with my grandmother as a child. Today, I would like to reflect on the roles my grandmother took and how she affected my life. A day at Grandma's house was a day of fun and exciting times, never a dull moment. A day at Grandma's house was a day of learning, a memory I could cherish forever. And finally, a day at Grandma's house, the last day, saying goodbye. I would like to share with you some of the best times I had being a kid. A day at Grandma's house was filled with fun and excitement. Grandma always had something going on. It didn't matter what time of the week it was, what time of the day it was. But for me, my siblings, and we only got to enjoy those fun times on the weekends. For me, a day at Grandma's house was like a day at the amusement park. The sun was always shining, and I didn't have a care in the world. I would arrive at Grandma's house, throw my stuff in the door, throw it on the floor, and run outside and play. It became kind of a routine for me. My dad would drop us off and leave us there until he was done working. But we didn't care because my grandmother would let us do whatever we want. On warm, sunny days, we would go outside and either ride our bikes or play on the swing set, which included 2 swings, a slide, and some monkey bars. There were times when we were able to play and hide and seek as well. There were 6 of us, so we had plenty of people to find. My grandmother was friends with all of her neighbors as well, so we were able to hide on their property as well. Do you remember big wheels when they were hot? I do. My grandma had 3 big wheels that the little kids could play on before they could go play on a tricycle. Usually only the little kids got to play on them though, because they were the only ones that could fit. My grandmother also had a motorized Jeep. It would go anywhere, just like a real car, or at least until the battery died. Looking back, those were the days. I've shared a few fun memories about my grandmother's house. Now I'd like to share with you some things I learned while visiting Grandma. Not everything was fun, as I'm sure all of you experienced in your time. See, my grandmother, she was a hard worker. She worked just as much inside the house as she did outside of the house. And she also had a full-time job while doing it. And she expected all of us to be hard workers as well. My grandmother had her own garden, where she planted tomatoes, zucchini, and cucumbers, just to name a few items. She had a wonderful, colorful, and healthy garden. Although this garden was small, it made me feel like I was on a farm. We had so many vegetables. It was the grandchildren's job to go out to the garden and pick the vegetables, especially if we were using those for dinner. She used those vegetables to make her own spaghetti sauce, her own fried zucchini, and the smells that came from the kitchen were unbelievable. We would walk into the back door near the kitchen and could smell the homemade spaghetti sauce and fried meatballs, the smells of oregano, parsley, and garlic, the sounds of the meatballs sizzling in the grease as they cooked. It made me feel like I had just walked into an Olive Garden. It completely made my mouth water. In fact, talking about it right now is making my mouth water. But anyone who knew the smells as they grew stronger knew that dinner was almost ready. In addition to being a great cook, she also taught us her wise ways, and she was also a very giving person. She continuously volunteered for the church and helped to volunteer anyone who needed it. I remember a few things she got me involved in. The one big event I can remember is working at the Italian festival. The Italian festival was one of the biggest celebrations our church was involved in. It was a time when all of the Italian descendants came together to celebrate their heritage. Don't get me wrong though, some people who were not Italian also came for the festival just to enjoy the great food. My grandmother got us involved to show us that at a young age it was always good to help other people. I've explored some ways that I learned from my grandmother. Now let me share one last memory I have, saying goodbye. Saying goodbye was not easy for me, and is never easy for anyone who you truly care about. We all know that no one lasts forever, and it's especially true when you're talking about grandparents. By the time my grandmother became a grandparent, she's what we all called old. When I was about 11 years old, my family found out that my grandmother had ovarian cancer. A cancer at that time that did not have a cure nor a medication that would slow down the process. Months after being diagnosed, she was gone. After the shock of my grandmother being gone, the next step was the funeral, something no small child should ever have to go through. A time with all this emotion, family you haven't seen in a while, crying, and the feeling of losing someone you care about. It was a very hard but necessary goodbye. All of us have gone through it a time or two, and many of us have had a hard time saying goodbye. However, if you're anything like me, the memories you have are something you can cherish forever. I've really enjoyed reflecting on these special memories and hope you all have as well. In summary today, we heard that a day at Grandma's house was a day of fun and joy, and that there was never a dull moment. A day at Grandma's house was a learning experience, and a day, the final day at Grandma's, a time to say goodbye, to reflect and share the great times I had with an incredible woman. She had the strength to do anything and not allow anyone to get in her way. I would like to think that in some way she made me the woman that I am. Although no longer with us, her memory is something that I celebrate. Thank you all for joining me in my commemorative speech.